Hello and welcome back, guys, to another episode of This Could Be Something Interesting. And I didn't even say what episode it was, but it's episode 17. I went to all the effort of finding out what episode this is, and then I didn't even mention the flipping episode.
It was just
number.
for you. It was just for you to know.
Just for my sanity. So this is going to be an interesting one today. So for some context, I was driving recently. I can't remember where I was driving from, but I got a new car recently. I got a Tesla, and it's just filled with gadgets and gizmos. For anyone that's ever driven a Tesla, you'll know it's just kind of full of like all this crazy technology. And it has this thing in the car. In fact, I think a lot of cars have started getting things like this now, but it has like a driver drowsiness alert. And I think it basically uses the camera, like it's got cameras inside the car, so it can detect like if your eyes are maybe squinting, or if your like head's nodding, or any kind of signs that you might, the driver might be tired. And it kind of just pops up in as alert, and I thought, well, I'm fine, like whatever. And it just got me thinking about how, in the future, as we start trusting more and AI more and more, and there's all this talk of like things like autonomous cars anyway, you can almost imagine a future whereby if it detects that you're tired and you are driving, cars aren't autonomous by that point, it would just pull you into like a service station or like pull you over to get a coffee or something.
Yeah.
And you kind of think, well, that's a good thing, right? Because it probably would reduce a lot of accidents, and it will be amazing. Yeah, amazing just for reducing accidents. But it kind of sent me down this whole spiral of thought around like, well, would I really want that? Because I feel like I would actually find that a little bit annoying. Like, even though it's kind of, you could argue it's doing me a favor, and it's doing everyone else a favor, because if I was to crash, it could not just kill me, but it could kill, cause a pile up. So it's a big thing, but it just seems like to have that kind of free will taken away seems annoying. And I messaged Ben earlier, and I was kind of like, I just went on this tangent of like, I wonder if if that ever happened, if we get to the stage, and again, probably it would be viable when AI, we could say to an AI, here's my dream, this is my dream in life, this is what I want to achieve. And AI could be like, right, I'm going to set your schedule every day for the next year,
and it will lead to that outcome,
and I guarantee you will get to this outcome
because it's predictable.
Because it's predictable. Exactly. It's worked out the algorithm. It's worked out the model exactly.
Yeah. It's possible.
Would you really want to do that, knowing that your autonomy is going to be taken away? So, like, for example, if you want to go out with your friends, it's like, oh, no. You're not allowed to go. It locks the doors and it stops you going out because it knows it's in your best interest to get your...
Yeah, for the goal.
And this is where it's this thing of, like, we're not talking about, this society of where AI is controlling humans and locking us in our homes. We're saying, like, we can tell AI what we want, and then it can get us that. But I still feel like we would fight against that. So then it brings this whole question of, do we really want what we think we want?
Yeah, it definitely got me thinking about, like, in general, about like safety. I guess just with that example, it was doing it for the probability you could crash, it could cause harm to others, it's doing what's right. But do we always want to be safe? Is safe the greatest goal for humanity? In fact, we require risk to progress.
Yeah, so true.
And even beyond that, like, it got me thinking about, like, I don't know, you see someone cycling on a bike, no helmet, and maybe they get something out of that. Maybe it's actually, for some reason, they really enjoy that. Or if it's like free climbers, right? They go up these huge things and they don't wear safety things, but they do it for that very reason. They do it for the very reason that they might die, and you're going to die. And that's important. It's important for people to do things that I go, okay, yeah, I am temporary being. I can do this thing, and it might risk in that, but maybe it brings a different kind of value into life. So yeah, I guess just from that angle, is safety our greatest progression? Because I don't think it is. I wouldn't necessarily say we're aiming to be safe.
Yeah, yeah. It's so fascinating, isn't it? And that's kind of why I titled this episode what I did. Like, what does it really mean to be human, and can AI help us to figure that out? Because we think we want things a certain way. Even if, like, in the context of relationships, right? Everyone wants to find their dream partner and have this perfect, happy, beautiful relationship, where you're loyal and you're faithful and there's no dramas and everything's just amazing. But do you really, or would you just go batshit loopy because there's no, to your point, there's no risk, there's no excitement, there's no uncertainty, like what might happen.
Life is unpredictable.
Yeah, and we think we don't like that, but it's such an interesting, like, it's really hard to think about. Like, it's so easy to say no. I want things to go my way, but then when you think of this example of having your autonomy taken away from you in order for things to go your way, can you still honestly say that you would be happy to surrender your freedom, your autonomy, in order for things to go your way?
And I guess also just, it's always a thing of progression, isn't it? We're like, oh, we've made this thing and it does this better. It's like, well, progression to what end? And progression for who in the end?
Yeah.
It's like the same kind of bullshit that you get with businesses and paperwork, and we're sort of like, yeah, but we're all doing this because it really helps in the long run that we have all this, but it's actually just making a lot of people's lives more difficult. There's a lot of junk that we just need to totally get rid of, like, when you're filling out a form and it's asking you questions that they never need to fucking know. No one ever needs to know this anymore. But we've kept it in through some kind of social conditioning, some kind of, like, years have gone by and we've kept these things in, and I think we require a kind of constant check-in. Okay, we've advanced here, but is this working for us? Do we still want this? Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's another really good point, right? Is that, like, if we come back to this example of, like, okay, here's my 1 year goal, I want to be a Broadway musician or actor, actress, whatever, and then you change your mind.
It's like, you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
there's this, like,
we've now lost our ability to change our mind, and I think that's a really important part of being a human, right? Is this capacity and this ability to change our mind on things, like, if we want to. And there's actually a lot of I think there's a lot of, like, guilt and shame that comes with changing your mind on things.
Yeah, I think you're right there. There is a kind of, like, you should know. And also, like, but you've stuck it out for this long.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, it's like someone goes to uni and they do this course and their family's invested. They've all invested into the idea and they go, oh, that's what you do. You've done so well so far. You could change your mind any fucking moment. In fact, destroy your reputation. Like, try and do that a fair bit more.
Oh, is that what do they call it? Sunk cost fallacy.
What's that?
Right, where it's that kind of theory, that idea and thinking of, like, the more time or money you've put into something, the more, like, the more cost you've put into it, whether that be time or money, the more you will try to justify keeping that thing. People get it with, like, businesses, right? So if they've invested, like, years and, like, hundreds of thousands of pounds into a business, they're more likely, like, even if that business is failing and all the signs are telling them you need to stop, this is gonna, like, end terribly, they will keep saying, no, I'm so close, like, I've spent my whole life on this. And then to your point, there's also this is, like, shame, because their family, their friends now see them as this business person. So the idea of, like, who am I now without this business? This has become my identity. So it's a real, that can be anything, right?
It's like investment, isn't it? You own lots of things, or you invest lots of money, and so it's like the more you own, the more you're owned.
Yeah.
owned by that investment that you've put into something. And I don't think that's just literal objects. You can own lots of stuff, but the more you own, like mentally, you have an attachment for it. The more you're owned by those things,
Yeah.
they're a part of you intimately, And those this might even just be an ownership of some kind of value system that you don't want to let go of. I think it's an interesting subject, even just outside of the AI part of it. Do we know what we want in terms of, I think that seems pretty clear. Like you say, we grow, we change, I guess it's an interesting conversation in terms of, can AI help us regulate that fluctuation? Recognize that we are continuously changing, and recognize, because that seems like a kind of a human ability to kind of be like, oh yeah, I like it, don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
That seems to be some emotional connection, doesn't it? Where we suddenly we don't feel comfortable or related to this thing anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like, AI is probably, even us talking about this, I think AI is probably smarter than we're giving it credit for currently, right? Like, we're talking about it like it is going to take over our lives. But I think AI would know this, right? I think AI will probably, if not already, very soon be able to look at humanity as a species and say, no, these people get their meaning from a sense of risk and a sense of autonomy, and again, that's kind of what brings the question, like, can AI actually help us get there? But then I just feel like even if it does, we will probably still fight back at whatever AI tells us we are, because again, that's human nature, right? I feel like we don't like, or maybe it's a little bit of an ADHD trait as well, but I don't feel like people like being told what they are or what they can do. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel
sometimes
like anybody
I think some
really
people are like
knows
that, actually.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're probably
like, oh,
right.
thank God,
actually.
tell me some more.
True. Yeah, and it's an absolute pet peeve of mine. So, like, I think you're right. I think some people do want to be told what to do, and others don't. But that, again, that kind of shows how variable this whole, what does it mean to be a human really is, because we're all searching for that, right? We're all searching.
Yeah, and I think that's an area within robotics and within AI that it's not just reflecting. Maybe it can actually teach us things about ourselves, and I think that's an interesting line of thinking, rather than we make these things and we're trying to teach them something, but then maybe they can actually reflect something within us for us to learn deeper about ourselves. Maybe
100%.
where we're caught in our own patterns, maybe we can look at an AI and it will repeat the algorithms that we've taught it back to us, enable us to kind of, and that's what the relationship should be, that maybe we can grow together as this kind of collective brain. And that's what it kind of feels like. It's sort of a mix of a lot of different brains coming together, and I guess there needs to be sort of many different, I guess, like, it's kind of interesting, will there be lots of different types of AI in the same way that you get lots of different types of personalities, or lots of different types of cultural values? We can't just, like, is it weird to have just one AI that seems to just sort of like be this one sort of clear opinion? Do we actually want AIs that kind of have the ability to argue with each other?
Well, but this is the funny thing, right? Because it depends, like, how you look at humanity, because, even one person, is one person really one person? Do you know what I mean by that? Like, we're never really
a capacity.
100%. Like, we have so many different personas, and like, we've talked about this before, right? Depending what circles, what friends, who you're hanging around with, you're going to act and be very different. You can have two different, like, you can be one person to your family and a completely another person who is unrecognizable to your friends. So this idea that we are just one person is a complete fallacy. And it's the same with AI. I think AI is all of these people in the same way that, you know, when we were talking to AI the other day and saying, hey, be like Cockney. It was like just using this like American accent, but saying like,
so American.
All right, geezer.
All right, geezer.
All right, geezer. But yeah, it is a really interesting thought. But yeah, I don't think there really is like multiple fragments. I think we're all an assortment of different personas and ways of being, and again, we all have the ability to even change our mind on things as well, and maybe AI will.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I mean, that's the ability to progress. It has to have the ability to go, okay, I'm wrong.
But that's what it does, right? Because
it does it a lot faster than us.
100%. Yeah, that's the nature
to the
of
point where it doesn't really point it out. It's sort of like, I've already realised I was wrong.
Yeah. We wouldn't be able to keep up with how quick it's happening, but absolutely, it would be going through those same learnings and like, oh, that was wrong, and now I know this. But it's going through billions every couple of seconds, whereas it's taking us years to, you know, figure out where we're wrong. But I thought what was really interesting that you said there about the kind of AI being able to like reflect ourselves back to us. It's funny because people say that about people, right? They say how like any interaction we have with another person is mirroring back to us our internal state. So it's like how we see others is a deep down on a subconscious level is how we see ourselves. If we find someone as annoying, it's because of an insecurity within us. That, you know, as much as people might not like to accept that, I have found that to be so true in my life. Of like, if I really reflect on it, it's like, oh shit, there is something there. Do you not think like
anyone's kind of annoying? Do you not think that?
But that when you find people annoying, or what you find annoying about people, is something you find annoying about yourself. And that's what it is. Like, if you really reflect on that, it's super interesting. But here's the thing with AI is that what it might do is it's kind of doing the same thing, but because with people, we can blame it on the person. We could just be like, yeah, but they're a fucking annoying person. With AI, you can't really do that because it's an AI. I mean, we might eventually, you could say, AI is annoying. But there's less... Because with people, you have these like relationships, right? And there's like, oh, it's just Ben being Ben, or, you know, they're just always like that. I feel like, I don't know, with AI, maybe it'll be different. I don't know.
Nah, not at all. Because what we're doing is we're also like putting...
You think we'll eventually start just blaming AI?
My issue is we're putting human traits onto AI, like the over politeness, and you know, all this stuff that's true, of human error, human problem. I was filling out this kind of for moving, this kind of application form, and it was partly done with like an AI, and it was asking me for my information, but then like it was doing it and it was asking it in all these really polite ways, and it was kind of annoying because it was like, I actually just, like I said last time when we were chatting to ChatGPT, I was like, I kind of want it just to be a bit more blunt. I want it just to give me the information, and because it was adding that human element, and I get it, it sort of connects to that what we've been conditioned to think's good. I was like, okay, cool, thanks, wicked. It says all these words. I'm like, you don't think that. Do you know what I mean? And that's what's annoying. I think what's almost annoying with an AI is probably more seeing these humanistic values in which we're putting onto it, which aren't necessarily related. I want to kind of see. It sounds kind of weird, but AI just as its pure, blunt form without the human input, if that makes sense. Obviously, it's always going to have the human input. I just mean, like, social conditionings, like politeness. Does an AI need to do that? Do you think AI needs to be polite? Or I guess it's handy. I guess for most people that are using it, it's suddenly like, oh, that's very kind of you. And I imagine there's a lot of people that are like, thank you very much, AI.
But it's like that Jack Whitehall and his dad when he's like talking, he's like asking him about his favourite painting and stuff, and he's like, "Oh yes, I love that artist."
Yeah, and I guess it's even those like that.
She's asking him like really generic AI questions
yeah.
that an AI would ask, and he's like so happy.
And I guess it's even those like that humanoid robot, and we're making robots that can create these really human expressions because it can work with our brain. We know what they mean to some extent, and it enables us to, I guess, progress in that language. I mean, what would you do? You know, what do you think if you had some kind of super advanced AI that wasn't going to totally, you know, rudely interrupt your life? How would you implement an AI into your life to advance it, but not take over? Or would you want it to take over? Would you take that risk? Would you be like, all right, I'll give it a go. Tell me what to do.
I don't think I would well, I'd want to know kind of how
it was going to do it.
Well, yeah, because but here's the thing.
Sign the contract first.
Well, yeah, that's it. Because I think the ability to change your mind is really important. If I had a goal, I would want to be able to change my mind. But then at the same time, you kind of, that's the thing, right? We say we want these things, but it's like, I just don't know, because like, if you really want something, you kind of can't half-ass it. You have to be committed to it, right?
Yeah.
And then you can't we just blame everything else. We blame the world for why we can't achieve our goals. But then if you can't say to that question honestly, like, I would surrender myself to AI and let AI control my life to achieve this, you probably don't really want it. And that then brings into question, like, well, what do we really want? When we were talking about like quitting and stuff, I just remembered in one of Stephen Bartlett's books, he had this really cool like quitting framework. I've just Googled it now, and I thought it was really useful actually, because he was talking in that book about how it's perceived as a bad, like the word quitter, right? It's like you're a quitter. So it's kind of like we were saying about changing your mind on something. It's like, oh, you're a quitter, you bailed out on it. And it's kind of like, it's actually one of the kind of bravest and best things you can do for yourself, because you're, you know, regardless of what people think, you know it's best for you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of got these like two branching paths. So it's like, I'm thinking about quitting because it's hard. And then, so if you've said, I'm thinking about quitting because it's hard, the question is, are the rewards on offer worth the hardship? Yeah. If yes, don't quit, keep going. If no, then quit. No one wants to have a meaningless struggle. Simple. And the other one was, I'm thinking about quitting because it sucks. And it's like, is the effort it would take to make it suck, to make it not suck, worth the rewards on offer? And if the answer is no, then quit because it's not worth it. And if the answer is yes, then don't quit and do the work to make it not suck. So it's kind of like, it's just this really simple thinking through it of like, what does this mean to me? Is this important enough to me to put in the work to overcome the suckiness or the hardship of whatever it is to get the rewards on offer or to keep having this thing? And I think it's a kind of nice way of like thinking through it and to just decide, like, you know, do I want to quit this or not? Because it's a really difficult, I think, decision sometimes of anything in life, you know, to know when do we give up on something? When is enough enough? When should we change?
It feels like some of the best stuff is going to come with a bit of pain, isn't it? You know, sort of like, all right, you suffer over something you don't like, you're going to suffer over something you do like. So just choose which thing you want to suffer over, really. There's going to be a bit of pain, isn't there?
100%.
For you to achieve a certain goal. Then maybe that's where, you know, you're sort of thinking with AI, it's going to make you suffer to achieve that goal. So, and I guess it's just a thing of in relation to sacrifice and progression, isn't it? You know, how much are you willing to sacrifice, and what is, you know, it's like also just a thing of purpose, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
What like someone had a top and it said purpose question mark, and I was like, nice. And I was like, fucking great question. I was like, because that is like, that's it. Like, we just put these, your job, or what gets you up in the morning. But that's just like, if you look at like all of humanity, we've just had these continuously different purposes. And it's like a bit like when people are like, oh no, robots and AI are going to take over everyone's job, what are we going to do? I was like, I'm not worried about we're going to be suddenly, if there's anything that humanity has done, it's give themselves new meaning, new purpose. We continuously do that. So when everyone's like, oh no, but what am I going to do? Like, thousands of jobs are going to be gone. I was like, it's like, okay. I was like, what, do you just think we were going to run out of ideas? Like, do you think
we'll create new problems?
We'll just create new stuff. New stuff, of course we will. So anyone that's sort of thinking, oh no, it's going to take over, I sort of feel like, well, maybe if you're not now stacking shelves at Tesco, maybe there's something else you could do. There's definitely other things you can do. It's like the whole thing of like, what are you going to do without money? It's like, it's not true. It's not true that you need money dangled in front of you to get you to do something. That's not the real motivator. I was like, you don't want the money. You want access. That's what you want money for. You want to take part in all the things that money can get you. You want access to the world.
Well, yeah, exactly, and that's the thing, right? I kind of feel like with all of these questions around meaning, it kind of feels like we're trying to answer this like one of those, those like paradoxical loop questions, like that, like everything I tell you is a lie. Am I lie or telling the truth? Like, there is no answer. We're trying to answer a question that can't be answered, because it's in the same way of like, they like all of these like kind of Buddhist philosophies and teachings kind of say that like all anyone ever really wants, like if you really distill it down, we just want to feel like a sense of inner peace. We want to get to this destination where we feel inner peace. Now, the vehicles we use to get there are different. I'm going to pursue my purpose because it gives me a sense of inner peace. Like whatever thing we're chasing, whether we want a house, a relationship, a certain amount of money, a certain job, a certain career, we want to pursue a certain dream, is because that dream, once we've got like in the fulfilled state that we imagine, when we have that thing, we believe we will feel this sense of this inner peace where like everything is just, that's that thing we're chasing, right? That eternal bliss, that like, my to-do list is done. I have my perfect life, my perfect relationship, my perfect career, my perfect everything. Bliss, inner peace. But it never comes, because we will we're then like, oh yeah, but I need this other thing, and then I will have my inner peace. But
and that's why you keep adding more stuff to your Amazon wish list.
And that's the human thing. And that's why, like, when AI comes in, when AI finally, says, hey, you can have all these things you've ever wanted, we will try to sabotage something, or we won't allow it to take our autonomy. We will stand up in protest and say, no, you're not going to take my autonomy. And it's like, I'm trying to fucking help you. You said you wanted all these things, and we'll be protesting against it. That do you know what I mean? Like, to your point, like, that's human nature. We will just find more problems. If AI says, hey guys, look, you've been saying for ages you wanted to get rid of money and the government and all this bullshit, and you just wanted to live peaceful, happy lives. I've sorted it all for you.
Yeah. So drop this.
Enjoy.
Drop this image, isn't it? So drop this like this utopia, and it's actually just maybe like a continuous matter of pragmatic design. Well, it's not like we go, oh, you've done it, we've arrived.
A continuous matter of pragmatic design. That's quite interesting.
So we design things. I was like, but we're not like, oh, we're here, we've done it, we've arrived, we've designed things so fucking well, we're done. It's like this. It's like this continuous acceptance where we're like, we've done this to the best standard so far. When we start speaking like that, as like, well, we know this so far, and when people start speaking like that, this is what I know, to my best of my knowledge for what we've learned up to this point, and it's in relation to language, it's in relation to I think that will allow us that continuous progression, because we don't accept that we've done things to the best standard. We just accept that this is with the technology that we have currently, with the abilities that we have currently, and that's what it is. That's what utopia is, essentially. It's not this arriving point. It's a continuous changing of a pragmatically designed society. We design out problems. We don't create rules. We design them out. It's like, oh, that doesn't work. Okay, well then you can sort of. I think the more and more, especially like in terms of when it comes to human behavior, I think measuring, like you were saying, like an AI might be able to be like, okay, these are the things that you need to do. An AI is definitely going to be good at recognizing those variables that are so complicated within human behavior. Do you know what I mean? Like your environment, your family upbringing, these tiny little details that are like, you don't know what they will calculate to, in the same way that like we have technology that can work out, like you're in a plane and it can be like, look, you're this much off the ground. Years ago, we didn't have that technology. They'd just be like, we're about this much off the ground. They just look down and they could just see that. It's like, and I reckon the same, an AI will eventually be able to predict human behavior. It'll be able to predict the kind of the movement of us, because we are to some extent. I think those things are predictable, but maybe not through our brains, through our intelligence. Maybe they're in relation, and that's, I think, what is going to be handy. I think maybe just in AI in relation to larger scale predictability, the ways that we move, the ways that we socialize. I think that's kind of interesting, that kind of group dynamic. Because we sort of see ourselves as separate. It's like that thing, you look at all these individuals and they're all individually having a chat, and it's like, but yeah, then you get a big group. We do move in ways like that. It's like how we've designed cities, and when you see cars, like if you actually look at us, we are this thing that's moving, and you could almost see that as its own entity rather than the individuals that are functioning within that group. And I think AI is going to be good for calculating that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like there's coming back to what you were saying earlier about like, this need for kind of, well, I guess the pragmatic design piece, right, where we're constantly almost like solving problems or addressing new things. I can't remember, I think there was some sort of study that was done on like retirement, and they found that like when people retire, the likeliness of death like exponentially there's no correlation of like age. It's just like, and even in country, and it was even that Jack Whitehall thing, right, where you had these like, men that were living like to really, really old ages, but they worked. Like they didn't retire. They just do like community service, and they all go out after beer together, and they're fixing homes. Like they're just doing it as like a community service thing. But it's because it gives them a set, like they're solving problems, they're designing things, and it's that thing of like, and I think that's fascinating because it shows like the fact that we can actually die and at least our health will rapidly deteriorate faster when we lose this sense of almost like striving, like our life ceases to have meaning. Because usually at that age as well, right, these people might have lost their spouse, so they might have lost their partner. So maybe they're maybe if they've got kids, they're married now, they've got their own families, so they've kind of like, they don't have anyone who relies on them anymore. And it's almost like that, even though it can be annoying for us, and we're like, oh, flipping out, this person's so annoying, or work so annoying, and these people, and it's fucking fucking dickheads and this and that. Like, really, do we really hate that, or do we secretly love it? Do we secretly need it? You know.
What you need, yeah. I mean, definitely, I think that's very real for people to, the complaining is what gets them through. I think there's lots of old people that like, I think especially exactly that, they probably retire, and then the complaining is actually the very few things that they have in their life.
Yeah.
They get to complain. Something doesn't work out, and they're gonna really fucking have a go about it. But that does give you this kind of force, isn't it? Force of energy. And you've got to do something. Maybe that suffering gets you going, and maybe that, whatever it is, these things do keep you moving. I think that's really true. It's a funny thing that we've even created that conditioning. I guess it's partly like, we've created this labor, and it sort of feels like, okay, I really want to stop this labor, and it's sort of like, we'll allow you to stop now. And it does make sense that you would deteriorate. Because you shouldn't just retire and stop doing stuff.
But I suppose that then comes down to almost comes down to that, that quitting framework that I mentioned earlier of like, does the hardship, or does the suckiness of what this is it worth it? Because it's kind of like what I was just thinking there as you were saying that was about, the flip side of this, I guess, is like you've got, what do they call it? Like trauma bonding, where we find partners, like romantic partners or even friends, it can be, who they make us feel some sort of trauma from our childhood that we maybe got from our parents. So if our parents like abandoned us a lot, we will look for partners who we subconsciously believe will also abandon us, because it's a familiar feeling. And like Joe Dispenza talks about this, is fascinating. And like, actually, like the human brain, we think we know what we want, but actually it's looking for familiarity, because that familiarity makes us feel safe. It's like, this is familiar. We're saying to ourselves, I don't want someone who's going to abandon me. I want someone who's going to be loyal, they're going to be faithful. But deep down, there's some weird subconscious thing where we know we're going after the wrong people. We know we're making friends or dating the wrong people, but there's some part of us where we know that, and we know, this person might abandon me. That makes me feel safe. We'd never admit that. If you were like, why are you with that person? No one's ever in their right mind going to say, because I think they might abandon me one day. But it's a very deep-rooted subconscious thing. And it's like almost happening on this, and that's why and people are in relationships where they trigger each other, because it's this safety bond net that we find ourselves in. It's super interesting. But that's, I feel like that
relates not to just people as well. That relates to just your lifestyle as well.
Yeah.
Unconscious, conditioned belief about something is why people often maybe get stuck and don't change out of old patterns, or they just sort of seem to come back in a big circle.
Well, this then begs the whole question, right? Of like, this kind of comes back full circle to what we were saying earlier of whose decision is it to make on whether or not, because you could argue that is that a bad thing? Maybe that is good. Maybe we should be trauma bonding, because maybe it does give us some sense of meaning and purpose, and it allows us to, by being in those relationships with people, even though they might seem unhealthy, maybe it allows us to unravel these traumas that we have, for both of us. For both.
I was going to say, it's almost like it's like a chance to readdress it.
Exactly, yeah.
Not fix it, but it's kind of like, okay, I can look at this now.
Yeah,
through new eyes.
100%. Whereas if you don't have someone who is going to provoke you, but then that's the whole thing, right? Of whose choice is that to make? Should an AI be making that choice of like, hey, like I'm gonna, if you could have almost like a dating relationship AI coach, would you let that solve that and pick you the perfect, because this is what's going to happen, right? Even with all these dating apps, like they're going to have these AI coaches that get you the perfect match, and they say, hey, you're currently trauma bonding, we recommend going on a date with this person.
That's so funny.
And then
That's
and then
such
it's
a
like,
funny idea.
and then this person's
Some
like,
kind of sort of
they don't-
psychiatrist dating AI coach.
yeah, but that almost then comes down to like the whole risk thing, right? Of, like you said earlier about free climbers or even driving.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm a little bit tired, but you know, I'm all right to
Or
do
you
this.
drive fast because
Driving fast, yeah, that's another
brings
great
you
example.
something. Yeah,
That's another great example.
dangerous, but like we've done it and we can do it, so you should do it. You know, it's
Yeah.
almost like
Or going for the wrong person in a relationship, you know, all those things. It's like that whole thing of like, there's excitement there, and that I don't know, but then again, it then becomes I feel like a moral discussion of, you know, is that right, and who's to say whether that's right or not, or wrong? Who's to say whether we should be seeking excitement? You know, you could argue, let's take the free climber example. I'm sure if you ask well, maybe some people might be very understanding, but if you ask the parents of that free climber, they would probably say, no, I want this person to stop doing that, because it's, you know, if they die, it's selfish. They're doing this thing, they're putting their life at risk, and they have kids, they have a wife, a husband at home who relies on them. It's selfish. You know, if you ask their immediate family who's going to be impacted by their death, they would tell you that it's bad and it's wrong. So who do you give the final say to? Because in any of these circumstances, like, who gets the final say? Is it, you know, is it this greater good thing? Well, there's, you know, 10 people relying on you, and so these 10 people get the final say. Or is it a matter of life and death? So like in the driving instance, well, you might end up killing 50 people in a multi-car collision if you crash, therefore we should override what matters to you as an individual for the greater good. Who makes that decision?
it is a funny thing of right and wrong, isn't it? I mean, yeah, because it does definitely sort of feels like that suddenly goes into a different subject, but it's also an intimate part of how we need to address AI. And also a weird situation where we're trying to teach AI right or wrong when we're totally like, we have not got that shit down. And it's exactly that. It's actually a pretty complex area of conversation, because there are just other areas that you don't predict.
Yeah.
You can't see everything. You can't see how like negative equals positive. You know what I mean? Like, you don't see how like certain it's sort of which is why I think, yeah, there needs to be some dropping of the kind of perfect outcome, and forget anything that it will look like.
Yeah.
And it comes to striving for something better in any vision. I think we'll do this and do this, and sort of like, okay, well, maybe neither of those are the answer, and we're just going to continue to be in this. I definitely think we can make things,
Or maybe all of them are the answer.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? We think there is one, but
It's just the kind of experience itself, isn't it? I do think we can make things better.
Even like, you know, because we like, for example, in the UK, you know, a lot of people would consider the UK, I mean, not everyone would call it progressive, but, you know, you could say we're quite progressive as a nation. Some people might call it regressive, but other people would think it's progressive in the way that we, you know, support this gender fluid. Well, some places and some people support gender fluidity, and gay rights and gay marriages now and things like this. And it's like, okay, cool, that's great. But then it's like, where do you draw the line? Because we don't currently allow or legalize, what do they call it? When I think there's like certain countries now where you can you can actually like commit suicide.
Yeah.
There's like there's actually like a booth or something, isn't there? And you can kind of like it kills you in like a peaceful...
There is a word.
Yeah, there is a word for it.
There is a word.
but yeah, you can in a nice way you can just end your life.
That's a fucking great subject. There, I've spoken to a few friends about that, and it's sort of like, well, it's all right, isn't it?
but that's the thing, right? Like if you are allowed, maybe this sounds extreme, but hear me out here. If you're allowed to change your gender to whatever you want to be, surely you should be allowed to end your life. Like, I feel like the two things are moral. These get into very moral and, potentially like there's religious sides of this as well, like debates. And it's a very belief-driven, moralistic issue.
In what way do they feel related, though?
They feel related in the sense of like, if we are... We seem to be saying that that a progressive society is one that gives choice back to humanity. That's what we're asking for. We're asking for freedom.
Yeah.
We want our freedom. We want the ability to do what we want to do with our lives. Well, if we want to do what we do with our lives, let us flip and end our lives. Well, and that's what I mean. You can't... It's like this whole freedom of speech debate. You can't say, we want freedom of speech, but don't allow those people to do it because they're inciting violence.
Yeah. And it's even like, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because how many things kind of just emerge directly as a result of the environment, and the environment not necessarily bringing a positive emergence out of your behaviours.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so you're allowing the freedom for you to do what you want, as like, even though those things that you doing what you want might actually be a result of kind of negative conditioning. From so this is what I mean by we don't know what, and that, I guess that brings it back to the center again. Do we know what we want? Do we even know what's right? I was like, when we're actually continuously coming back to, and it's all just we're all just like, if you look at every, go back through years, they were just believing the reflection of that time and the reflection of that time, and that's kind of what I meant by in the future. That kind of, progressive, pragmatic design it's kind of like, it's not established. We don't arrive at the future and establish it. We're here. That's the kind of, it feels like the future needs to be emergent. Does that make sense? It continuously arrives. It continuously changes, and I guess that allows the space maybe to continuously but yeah, it's a very funny area of it's true.
Should we let's ask AI what it thinks about
it's like, I was listening.
We'll ever get to that place. It probably was. Do you think humans will ever get to a place where we find a reason? Hang on. Do you think humans will ever get to a place where we find a reason for our existence?
That's a deep question. Many people have asked this throughout history, and there are so many perspectives depending on philosophy, religion, or even science. Some believe we may eventually understand our existence, while others feel it's more about finding personal meaning rather than one universal reason. What do you think? Do you feel like there's one answer out there, or is it more personal for you?
I feel like we're always changing and evolving, and there doesn't really seem to be any right or wrong answer to anything. And even when we think there is a right or wrong answer, something will come up to the contrary and change our mind on it.
That's a really insightful perspective. It's like the idea that everything is in flux, including our beliefs and understanding of the world. We're constantly adapting, learning, and shifting our views based on new experiences or information. Maybe that's part of the journey, being open to evolving rather than holding on to one fixed truth. Have you noticed a moment in your life where something changed your mind in a significant way?
Always.
That's it. That's it. Open to evolving. Open to evolving. And that's what I'm saying. Like we don't establish ourselves, not just as a society, but as individuals. Well, we kind of continuously begin to speak like that. Because we also, and obviously maybe we need to speak with some level of certainty. That's kind of how conversation and learning can happen, you know. But maybe we can become a little bit more, if intelligent debate, if intelligent subjects, you know, weren't just like, because this is the whole problem, right? It's like I've sort of said it before with education. Maybe we won't just like teach people necessarily, like people, they go to uni and there's someone talking and they go, oh, I love all this information. Oh, thanks for all the information, and they carry that information around because they've just been told that information, but they don't know it. Do you know what I mean? We get taught a load of words, so someone just passes it down to you, and then you carry those words that they just said. Like, we almost need to be teaching people not a piece of information, but a way of thinking. Do you know what I mean? So they personally learn the information. They personally discover the subject for themselves. Experientially, they see a subject, rather than when you go and someone teaches a load of stuff and they go, okay, cool, thanks for your opinion. I'll tell that to my friends now because you've told me. You know, the interesting subjects were less fact giving and memory tests, and more how to think in that kind of way, how to see those kind of things in your environment, how to, you know, actually a way of thinking rather than a solid piece of information.
Yeah.
That doesn't allow the room to change, because if you were taught a way of thinking, it allows it to be malleable and edited and personal, and it allows the ability for it to grow.
So it's almost like, yeah, well, I guess that, and this kind of comes back full circle again, doesn't it, to this whole thing earlier of like, what does it mean to be human? And actually, like, this is one of the whole areas that opened up the conversation, was around with this AI example of like, well, what if I change my mind? And it's like, maybe that's the answer. You know, what it means to be human is almost the ability to change our mind. Because if we can't change our mind, what are we? Yeah, and I guess that would be the healthiest relationship with AI, is an AI that accounts for and regulates a changing mind and and moves with it, right? And this is like any relationships, friendships, whatever it is, change. You change together. Do you know what I mean? Your environment, how adapted are you when your environment changes? You know, are you intimately connected with it? I guess it is about how well adapted we are to just change in general. Because when we're all comfortable and we're like, oh, everything's always the same and this is nice because I could really predict the outcome, when things do change, it's really horrifying for us. Or like, it's like old people and they've just had the same partner and then their partner dies, and sometimes they flourish and sometimes they just fall apart because that's all they've ever known. I find it really useful actually sometimes to remember the kind of nature of the brain and the mind, because you know, the mind is like, it's not, and a lot of the time people beat themselves up about their brain. They're like, oh, my brain's always trying to self-sabotage me. It's not trying to sabotage you, it's trying to protect you. And your brain is literally wired to, again, like, look for safety and look for predictability and look for assurance, but that's not necessary. To your point, like, you know, that predictability isn't always predictability isn't like I think we've just established that, like, predictability isn't what we want, because if it was, we would just get AI to run our lives. I don't know, maybe there are people listening to this right now saying, yeah, cool, like, I would let AI run my life. But I don't know, man, I just feel like I struggle to believe that anyone out there, if you said AI is going to literally dictate your every move, you will have no more free choice or the ability to change your mind on anything, that'd be like, whoa, but what if I change my mind about that? Oh, you can't, that's the whole thing. And it's like, that is just such but change, it's kind of like those two words, you can't have predictability and change.
Well, it's kind of really interesting, isn't it? That's where it's
those two words are counter.
It seems like its greatest ability as AI is, you know, predicting stuff, probability. It's able to calculate things way quicker than you, and then you're asking it to do the opposite, to like give you certainty, but then also allow the open space. I think it's always going to be, that's what it is. It's going to be a collaborative tool. I mean, that's what it is now, and that's what, like, it has a lot of potential in terms of our collaborating with that, because maybe that's it. Maybe it just needs our relationship, in the same way that you'd have a relationship with a therapist, and you might not get along with a therapist, so you're like, I ain't gonna tell you shit. Maybe a relationship needs to be built with an AI, where we feel like, wait, it understands you and it understands how you change, and it allows all the room for that, and it's more of just like a general assister for the goals. And I think that's just a lot of stuff with, you know, right now when we say that this thing's gonna help us achieve whatever goals, and maybe that's also a thing that's in relation to the current way that we live in our jobs and our egotistical values. Maybe it's a bit weirder, you know. Maybe if we were asking AI to help us collaborate, help each other, maybe we would mind the way that it controls us, if we knew it sort of was for a kind of, I think there's something about the kind of personal egotistical taking over your life individually, maybe hurts us. And maybe when we know that it's for something else, we will take part in assisting. And I think we do. I think we've shown behaviours like that as human beings. We like to help each other. We already do that. We already help each other. We already sacrifice and do things for each other, things that we don't like.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of mind-blowing to think about, really. Like, you know, even this, to bring it back again to that whole thing of like goals, you know, about having a goal, and if you know, we were committed to that goal, we said, yep, okay, help me do what it takes to achieve this goal. And, you know, maybe we didn't change our mind on it, but, like, you know, sometimes what if, you know, sometimes we just want to have a lazy day? Is that a bad thing? And maybe we have to work every day, and you know, then it's that whole question of, well, you know, you could potentially be jeopardizing, like, there's all of these factors, right? Like, you could be jeopardizing your mental health, your physical health, by pushing beyond, you know, what you should be doing. And it's like, well, is that a bad thing though? Because, and I don't know, maybe this is something that AI will allow us to do, and maybe to make better decisions, or it might just complicate the decision making process, you know? Because it's like, imagine if we could say, right, I want to be a ballerina, and I want to be a ballerina in 5 years, and AI says, like, cool, I've plotted out a graph of like how you're going to get there. Here's all the risks you need to be aware of. So you're going to be a ballerina probably for about 2 to 3 years, and then your limbs are going to start, really deteriorating, and you're going to, by the time you're in your 40s, you're going to have really battered joints. You're going to, the rest of your life is going to feel miserable, but you will have an amazing 3 or 4 years as a ballerina. And it's that whole but I almost feel like that would just complicate that whole process in it. And even that though, that kind of feels like we're robbing ourselves of, because then it's predictable. And even though, again, we argue that we want the predictability, do we? Do we want it? That's almost like that question of if you could get, if you did believe in fate, like some people don't believe that we have a predestined path. I don't really know what I believe on that. I feel like it could be either or. I really don't know. But if we do have a predestined path and you could find out what yours is, would you want to do that? I don't know. And it's kind of like, I almost feel like, if I found out and they said, right, after you've got off this podcast today, you're going to go and make yourself a glass of water, I'd be like, no, I'm not going to make myself a glass of water. Just to be...
Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you,
and then
Destiny.
You die. Just to make a point.
Die from thirst.
I'll show you, Destiny.
Exactly. But that's the thing, right? It's like, I don't know. Would we really want to know? Because then it takes excitement out of life. Would we really want to know how that path's going to look, and that our life can be absolutely wonderful, and here's all the things we need to do, and here's the potential downsides? Because I feel like then we would just never take action, right? If you imagine, if we could ask it those questions and it can give us all these different paths, we'll just be like, well, what if I was a ballerina for 2 years? And then it'd be like, oh, calculating, here's the outcome. Oh, but so what if I was just a part-time ballerina, but then I was a singer on the side? Calculating, here's the answer. And then you've got all these I feel like we would just get into this analysis paralysis where we're just asking AI all these questions forever, and then we're flipping out. I don't even know what I want my life to be.
Yeah. Is it making it better by that point?
Exactly.
Yeah. Some things,
It's like even though we think we want that unpredictability, I feel like it is secretly helping us. And I don't know.
It feels like, not everything's for us to know.
Not 100%, 100%.
Yeah, we don't need to know it all, or how to get there, or what's going to happen. And, I think... it's going to be a collaborative learning tool. And I don't think there's any answer, in the same way that we don't necessarily have an answer.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, I feel like we're absolutely no further forward.
And I think that's fine.
Finding an answer.
I think that's basically.
But I think that's
this
the
is
lesson,
always
right?
destined to go.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
But that does kind of bring it
Destiny.
back to what we were saying. Is that is. It is an impossible question. What does it mean to be human?
I thought at the start, I was just definitely a paradox, isn't it?
It's a Pandora's box where
an AI trying to do this thing, and it's sort of like, well, actually, maybe AI is also just never going to be perfect. It's a reflection of us. We're gonna so we've just made this really intelligent, unperfect thing. So it's just
I do think something from this conversation that is good to reflect on, and I will be reflecting on, is just this, the one of the fundamental, I feel like, values of humanity is the ability to change our mind on things, and this thread of change and evolution is more important than we might think. A lot of people, that word is very scary, but if you really think about that word, and like the different connotations, because we often, there's a negative association with the outside world changing, right? It's like, this person's changed, this thing's changed, oh, why can't things just flip and stay the same? But we want to be able to change. Well, you can't really separate yourself from the outside world, because that's the whole thing, right? Like, if you change, the outside world changes. Like, if you change your inner world, your outer world also changes.
Yeah, it seems to be the one consistent.
Yeah, they're like inextricably linked. Yeah,
is the very notion of change itself, isn't it? Nice. I think we really worked out a whole load of nothing right there.
literally.
Yeah. I mean, we'll probably change our mind on this whole episode next time. Well, I disagree with the whole fucking 100%. Thing. We'll readdress this episode next time.
But it was an interesting journey.
It was an interesting journey. I think it's
a journey of change and evolution.
It is an interesting subject.
Faux show.
Faux show.
Faux show. Awesome. Well, thank you all for tuning in as usual, guys. And we will see you in the next episode.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.